Hi, my name is Bill Keogh. I'm the Managing Director of the Supply Chain Transportation and Logistics Master's Program here at the University of Washington, and I'm also a professor teaching a couple courses in the program. My background, I've been a IT supply chain and operations consultant for about 20 years, and like a lot of the other members of the faculty, we bring a lot of real-world experience into the classroom.
Hi, my name is Edwin Quezada. I am a student of this program. I am a warehouse manager as well for a company called Artisan Electric. I am taking this program, class of 2018.
Great. Well, why don't we kick it off? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about your decision process in selecting the program. You know, why did you decide this was the right fit for you?
Perfect. So I recently came to the US a couple of years ago, and obviously I had to take a decision in order to improve my professional career. And I think this was my best choice because, you know, this industry is evolving really fast. And the demand for well-prepared professional is getting higher. I think this program definitely gives us the tools to accomplish those requirements in order to, you know, supply those demands. So yeah, I'm more than happy.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. I'm glad to hear it. What about in terms of the work-life, not work-life balance, but balancing your life, your job, and you know, doing a master's program on the side?
Well, I think this is definitely a program suitable for working students, because at the end, one of the advantages of this program is after work. Once a week, a couple of hours. You definitely need to invest some time in order to, well, you know, deal with all the requirements of the program. But yeah, it's manageable, definitely.
Great, great. Maybe you could talk a little bit. I mean, one of the objectives of the program, as you know, is to help people sort of advance in their careers. A lot of the people in the program have, I think it's an average of 7 years of experience. Some people have more, some people have less. But the objective of the program is to help people, sometimes with very specialized knowledge within transportation and logistics, sort of expand their understanding of the field. So that they can function in a more senior role. Obviously, most executives understand sort of the end-to-end implications of things like inventory decisions or, you know, IT systems, that kind of thing. And so we try to make the program very practical and very oriented towards not only enabling you to collect knowledge, but also enabling you to go out and, you know, hopefully be successful. Could you talk a little bit about the experience you have had here? You and I have kind of worked closely on a number of
well, the good thing about this program is, well, the fact that the professors are professionals from the industry, so they are related 100% with the industry. So basically, we're getting the knowledge about what's going on out there. It's a very up-to-date information that we're getting that we have to deal with. But it's not only that, the fact that they concern about you growing professionally and develop your career, but it's more important, at least for me.
Right, right. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your story? I mean...
Well, yeah, I have like several stories, actually. So one of them is like, since I recently came, I was looking for a job, so I was in a job hunt process, and a lot of people from the program, the CEO, the director, people from staff, professors, board members, the alumni, I have been in touch with them, and they have been helping me personally. I mean, I have been in one-to-one meetings, getting coffee from board members from high-end companies, talking about my situation. They giving me advice about what to do, about what not to do. At some point, we were with you, like practicing some, interviews, checking my resume, doing all the adjustments necessary in order to do a proper job out there.
Because you had a role in Guatemala that was very much supply chain warehouse related, right?
Yeah.
And I guess when you came over here, it's not the easiest thing to do to come to a new country and just, you know.
No, not at all. And actually, the other story is for when I was applying for this position where I am right now, I texted one of the teachers asking for help. And we were talking about my decision on a Sunday evening with him, and he was helping me. And I took the decision for this job. So,
yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that maybe distinguishes this program from some others. For one thing, I think all the faculty know all the students pretty well. So it's an unusual mix, right? So it's the live classes are delivered online over the internet, but everybody in the cohort has met one another, especially when they come here for the residency, especially. Do you want to talk about your experience with the residency?
Yes, well, actually the residency week is the first week of the program where basically you get to know each other, you know the system. It's a kind of a demanding week because after, like not studying and going back to this kind of environment, it's a little bit difficult, but it does worth it. You basically know each other in your cohort. You need to do homework, you need to read a lot, but at the end, for me, it's the most important week because this is basically all the basis for your success in this program.
Right. So, I mean, because there's a lot of group work. Different classes have different sort of approaches, but, there's sort of business case stuff. There are sort of presentations. I do some games. That's in the class that's coming up, where you work with a team to try to solve, fairly complex problems. And then there's the practicum too, which just completed. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, basically, during the whole program, you're building knowledge and experience, and at the end, you have this class where you have to apply everything that you just learned, and you have to do a presentation to professors and board members of the program.
And so, was that pretty relaxing to do that?
No, it wasn't, but it was like a learning process. It was a learning experience. But it was interesting because at the end, we realized that we are prepared to present any kind of situations to high-end executives.
Right, and that's one of the reasons, we built that into the program originally. It's a little bit like a consulting project, I suppose, right? You identify some specific problem, attempt to scope it, try to address it, make sure there's sufficient return on investment. To go back to earlier, enabling somebody to assume an executive role, this is the kind of thing executives do, right?
Yes.
They identify improvement opportunities, they put together some kind of a business case, and you might have 10 slides that you could present to the CEO, maybe fewer. And in the practicum, you get 10 slides, you get 20 minutes to present. So I think it really mimics real life. And when you get the
level of stress as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when you get the advisory board people, I mean, these are all really senior people with a lot of experience, and they ask some pretty pointed questions, which is, again, like real life, right? I mean, the CEO is not going to throw you softball questions.
Not at all. I mean, you think that you're well prepared, and when you start getting those questions, you're like, okay, I have to go deeper. Definitely. Yeah.
So what sort of, I mean, the curriculum is pretty varied. We tried to make sure that everything you would need to know to have a decent understanding of supply chain is covered there. And obviously there's an emphasis on transportation. Was there one or two classes that stood out in your mind that you particularly enjoyed?
Well, I really like all the logistics related classes. I like to implement any kind of IT, and actually I'm doing that right now at work. Whatever is related to warehouses, management, it's something that I really like. Financial classes, I really like them. Risk assessment classes was really good as well. Yeah.
Great. So maybe you could talk a little bit, because a lot of online programs are basically kind of emailing back and forth, and you have a chat board and stuff, where this is different. I mean, like, you and I know each other, right? And it's the same thing with pretty much all the faculty and all the students. I think know one another.
I think in the old days, in this kind of programs, like online programs, we're like, okay, let's watch videos, pre-recorded sessions, and do some homework, and that's it. Here's like being at class, like being physically at class. Obviously, you are at home, at work, interacting with the professor, with classmates, friends. It's really easy and convenient. So yeah, it's way different. It's like a real live class that you're getting.
Yeah, I think it's about the closest thing you could get to actually physically being in a room together. And as the instructor, I can see all the videos of everyone in the class. So it gave me the opportunity to just sort of pose a question and then go click Edwin.
Yeah.
Which sometimes makes people pretty uncomfortable, but it also makes sure they pay attention, I guess, right?
No, it's a very interactive system of teaching. Like I said, you really enjoy it. You're at class. You don't have to commute. You can take classes from wherever you are. I have friends in Utah. I have friends in California, Florida, Detroit, London. So it's very like.
Yeah, when people travel to Europe, it's a little rough sometimes to be
to
be live when it's like 2, 3 in the morning over there. But generally,
but it's achievable. I mean,
you can do it.
Yeah,
you can do it. Yeah, that's right. What about just in terms of advice you might have for people who are out there and maybe they're thinking about trying to advance their career? Do you want to talk a little bit about how this has helped you? Maybe open some doors or opened your mind or whatever it may be.
No, well, actually, I feel way more empowered regarding my professional situation. Now I feel confident of, taking the decision that I used to do before. The fact that I have a lot of classmates in the industry. I mean, we have an app where we can talk to each other like right away. We ask for advices. We share comments regarding articles. Regarding homework. So it's a teamwork, the whole program, in order to help you build your professional career.
Right. And one of the things we've been very deliberate about is developing sort of an alumni network. So once you leave the program, I mean, I see alumni all the time at our events, or we have sort of a cocktail reception, or get some beers at a local place. And I think one of the things that's important about that is, especially if you're looking for information. Like, I mean, usually you're not calling somebody up and go, hey, give me a job, right? I mean, it generally doesn't work like that. But I do have students who say, I'm really interested in some particular facet of supply chain. This is reverse logistics or something like that.
Yeah.
There is somebody who either is working in that space now or has worked before, or they know somebody, right?
Yeah.
So you can get on the phone with somebody and kind of get the real deal. And once in a while, I talk with students who are like, I really want to be this kind of role in procurement. And I'm like, well, why don't you talk to these 3 people? And then they come back and go, I definitely don't want to be in procurement, which is good. And it saves you time from going down the wrong road.
I still I keep getting this kind of advices, like, don't do it this way, or like, go for it. My most recent experience is the program assigned me a mentor. I went with him one coffee meeting in the morning, actually before he went to work. At the end, I mean, a very nice guy. He offered me help trying to find a job like that because of networking through this program. So I'm like, wow, I mean, that doesn't happen every day.
Right. Because I remember originally, again, coming from another culture, another country, it is very challenging. And I remember you and I having a discussion where you said, I've applied to a lot of stuff online and I'm getting no traction. And not that there's anything wrong with applying to jobs online, but I think you would still be doing that. If you hadn't kind of leveraged some of the networking opportunities.
It's not about the possibility of lack of knowledge or lack of experience. No, it's just the fact that you need to be connected somehow with the right people, the right company, in order to get that first step into the company that you're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as the program, we try to stay really plugged in to what's going on, in the world. I mean, the vast majority of the professors are actually practitioners. We have a couple people who are, full professors at the university, but they, do a lot of contemporary research and topics that, that matter, and they've worked in the private sector as well. So I think being able to being able to bring that sort of experience into the classroom is pretty helpful for students, who want to get out and apply stuff for real. I know there was one course. This person was before you, and he went down to do an interview with a company down in California, and he had just finished the 502, the IT systems course. And he said in the interview, this was almost the only thing these people wanted to talk about. And he said, I actually knew what they were talking about and could intelligently participate. He's like, I'm pretty sure that's why I got that job. So I mean, that's the kind of thing that makes you feel good, right? Yes. You're at least teaching people stuff that's actually applicable.
I'm telling you, at work, it's the whole process, just analyzing the situation, going for IT, inventory management, analyzing the display and of the warehouse, taking risks, analyzing the financial situation, and making the best decisions.
Right. That's great. Anything else you wanna add? I know there are a number of questions from people out there.
Well, I think an advice for prospective students is once you get into the program, it's not about who performs better. I think it's more about the best way for the whole class to perform better. So, because at the end, it's the more you help each other in the supply chain after you get graduated is what is going to give you a success or a fail in your career.
Mm-hmm. Right. Good point. Well, so I think we have a few questions that I can answer or you can answer, depending on the question, I guess.
A question from Sarah. What was your favorite class and why?
See, now you got to pick one.
Yeah, okay. I really like analyzing numbers, and I think one of my favorite ones was inventory management. Professor is really nice, really knowledgeable. He does as much as he can to share what he knows, and even if he needs to take some more time after class to explain you, he does that. So it was an amazing experience.
And especially with your role now, that inventory, right? I mean, inventory is such a big part of what you do now. So
yes, definitely. So I think that's one of my favorite ones.
Great.
Yeah.
Another question from Sarah. Do you think the curriculum keeps up with current industry trends? Do you learn new software?
Well, the first part of the question, yes. As we mentioned it before, the fact that the professors are practitioners in the field gives you a heads up that what you're learning is something that is happening out there. About software, I can tell you that simulations, because we do a lot of simulations here, is something that I learned in this program and that I am actually applying right now. So yeah, that's a software called Simio for simulations.
Great.
Question from Isaac. How often is non-loan financial aid acquired to cover costs? And what percentage of the total costs?
Why don't you, maybe we can both.
Okay, yeah. This is the thing. There are several ways to cover these costs. For example, I applied for one scholarship. I got it. It helped me. I got a loan as well. So yeah, you need to search for the right help in the right place at the right time in order to get this help. But it's possible. It is possible.
Right. And for the most part, I don't know if the question specifically is around, do you offer full scholarships to people? At the moment, that is not the case. So, hopefully that answers the question.
Another question from Isaac. What are the most common bachelor's degrees that support MSCTL? Is accounting one of them?
Maybe I should take that.
Okay.
It used to be that there were no degrees in supply chain, period. And if you talk to most of the people who are senior VPs of supply chain at companies large and small, none of them have any academic training in supply chain just because it didn't exist. Back when they started, I think it was called materials management, which very much not a strategic sounding thing, right? Managing materials. And obviously there was a certain point where corporations woke up to the fact that your supply chain is a competitive weapon. There's tons of money tied up in how efficiently you perform. And so now you see this sort of there's much more academic opportunities to learn. We have a number of students actually who have undergrad degrees in supply chain management, and that's becoming more as
it's like a trend now. But I don't know. Well, in my cohort, there are several people with different backgrounds. I think the fact that this program belongs to the civil engineering school, it's something like gives you the idea that most of the people here are engineers, but no, it's not like that. I mean, we have different profiles here.
Yeah, I think just to break it down in big terms, it's about a third engineering, a third business, and then a third miscellaneous. We have people with a lot of interesting backgrounds. You bring up the engineering, the fact that this is housed in civil and environmental engineering, which is different than a supply chain program at a business school, for example. And there are sort of quantitative elements of the program. You mentioned modeling and that kind of thing. Do you want to talk, because you're not an engineer?
I am an engineer.
Oh, you are an engineer.
Yes,
okay,
yeah. Well, it's not the fact that you're going to deal with these hard, difficult, like insane formulas. You need to be comfortable working with numbers, that's for sure. But you don't need to be. I mean, it's not a requirement that you have to be an engineer in order to success in this program.
Right. And I think some classes are more sort of quantitatively oriented.
Yes.
The ones I teach generally, they're not. I mean, one of them is about collaboration. The other one is about IT systems. So that's not doing large equations.
A lot of reading.
A lot of reading. Yeah.
You need to like reading. Yeah, that's for sure.
That's true. Are there any other questions?
Do most students live in the Seattle area?
I would say about 2/3 probably. Although that number, we're getting more and more people who are from outside the area, which I think some of them are from here, some of them want to move here, and some of them just are familiar with the program as being something for sort of people who are logisticians, transportation folks. So if you are here, there are a lot of opportunities to meet face-to-face with your current cohort, your alums, that sort of thing. And then we do have people who are distributed. I think the fact that everybody shows up here for a week right at the beginning, and even if somebody is living on the other side of the country, as somebody in your cohort, you know them. As professor, I know them, and I think that's important.
Yeah, the only thing that you must consider is that the first week of the program, you need to be here. But
right.
Besides that, you don't need to be here to go through the program.
Right, and we feel that first week is so important that is basically not negotiable, right? If you want to be in the program, you have to come for that.
It should stay that way.
Right.
Definitely.
Right.
How does this program differ from an MBA?
Okay, why don't I take that? So an MBA is sort of a general business degree, right? And I think people get out with MBAs and you're capable of doing probably a lot of different things. You've learned, a lot of the different functions in business. This program is a master's in supply chain, transportation, and logistics. So it is far more focused in terms of what you're going to take out of the program and what kind of people go to the program in the first place. I think there was a time when having an MBA was a real distinguishing, unusual type of credential. And I think as more and more schools began to offer an MBA, I think that's not true as much now. This, however, is a very specialized degree. So when I have people say, I'm not sure I get an MBA or should I get this degree, usually I talk to them for a while and want to understand what exactly is it you want to accomplish, and then try to decide whether this program makes sense or whether, a business degree. But yeah, I mean, this is very focused on sort of transportation, logistics, and the role of that function in the supply chain.
Yeah.
Edwin, what advice would you give to incoming students?
Like I mentioned it before, be prepared with the mentality of working in teams. Try to achieve whatever you want to achieve doing teamwork. The other thing that has been very important for me as well is try to get everything done as soon as possible. I mean, don't wait until last minute because you will have complications and you will struggle. That's for sure. So that's my advice because it has been helpful for me.
Great.
What are the requirements to apply?
So if the website actually has some pretty detailed information in terms of the process, the requirements, the application deadline, which is May 1st, for those of you who may be interested. Basically, we look at several things, and we look at it kind of holistically. So the GRE, none of those graduate tests are required. Personally, I'm not sure that that's a real great predictor of ultimate success. We do want to have several years of experience in supply chain. Just because the other folks who are in your cohort, they may not know everything about inventory, but they may be very experienced in technology or something like that. And if you have absolutely no experience, it's possible, but it's very, very difficult for you to be successful. So, I mean, we want people with some work experience. Yeah. And as part of the application, one of the questions is, tell us about the most challenging supply chain situation you've encountered and how did you address it. And obviously you need to have actual work experience to be able to answer something like that. You need to provide your transcripts. There's a couple of letters of recommendation from people you've worked for, people who are academic. But generally that's pretty much it.
Do you take international students?
We take people who have the right to be in the United States. The reason for this is that to get a student visa to come from another country to come here, you can't get it for a week, like for the residency. So they won't give you, a visa like that because they expect you to be here for a longer time, and you can't come on a tourist visa. So we're working on figuring that out and maybe offering the program in sort of maybe somewhere in Asia or something like that with a different, different cohort of people. But at the moment, the short answer is no.
And another question from Isaac. In addition to the 30 students or so per cohort, how many applications for positions are turned down?
This very much depends, obviously, on how many applications we receive. The program is pretty selective, but we get a lot of strong candidates. So I don't know that I can give you a hard number per se. It varies from year to year. We might sometimes we have 70 applications and we're taking half of those people. It just sort of depends. I talk with people sometimes, and this can be pretty helpful. I talk with people sometimes who say, I might be interested in the program, and I ask them sort of, what is it you're trying to accomplish? And then to talk with them a little bit about their background, and people will ask me, do you think I have the right sort of skill set and experience to be accepted? And I won't say, yes, you will definitely get accepted, but, if you have no work experience or something like that, I try to direct you to do what makes the most sense for you.
What is residency week like?
Okay, so basically, during a whole week, you have to be here from 8 to 6, taking classes, doing teamwork, analyzing different scenarios, trying to get used to the pace that you will have for 2 years, basically, getting to know each other, trying to figure out, at least for me, the best teammates to work with in order to succeed in the program.
Right. And I think, as Edwin mentioned, there's certainly an academic component to it. You complete one class while you're here. It's fewer credits than the normal ones. But I think the part that's at least as important as the class, if not more important, is what you talked about, like meeting the other people in your cohort, meeting your professors. We have a cocktail reception where our advisory board comes, and it's an opportunity for everybody in the new cohort to actually meet the person who runs the supply chain at Starbucks, or the person who runs all the materials management for the commercial programs up at Boeing. A pretty good group of people, interesting group of people to meet. We also try to do, every year we do a tour of a different facility. One year we went to Costco's cross dock down south of Seattle, which was pretty impressive.
And we went to the port of
operation. Yeah, and then we take a cruise around the Port of Seattle, where we have somebody who's been at the port forever, and they kind of talk a little bit about the facilities and give a little sort of historical information. Last year we went to one of Amazon's warehouses, like super automated warehouse, again, south of Seattle, which was a pretty interesting trip. So every year we try to make some kind of go out to the community and look at an interesting facility.
How does the cohort work?
Well, I think that depends.
Well, I think so. The cohort, I mean, the whole idea of it is you have this group of people who you start the program with, and you take every single class with that same group of people. So that's sort of the cohort model. You're together all the way through the program. The question was, how does it work? Okay, I mean, that's how it works. I don't know if there's another
like a
question.
Group of people like working together, trying to do some homework in different teams, changing teams from one course from one class to the other. But at the end, it's like that. It's just basic class, teams.
And I mean, it enables you to develop some pretty close relationships. So it's not like undergrad where you go in a psychology class with a whole bunch of people and then you go take another class. This is the same group of folks.
I can
for 2
consider
years.
these guys my friends.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
That's great.
Is the program ranked and is it accredited?
So we get the accreditation question once in a while, and this is not my area of expertise, but being accredited is obviously really important in the undergrad world. None of the engineering programs at the University of Washington are accredited. It's not that they couldn't be, but again, this is not my area. But yeah, I think for graduate level programs, that's not the same. It's not the same kind of thing as it is for an undergrad program.
Edwin, how much time outside of class do you spend studying?
Okay, well, interesting point. First, it depends on you. I mean, if you want to perform properly, if you want to just pass, but definitely you need to be aware that you need to invest time that you weren't investing before. You need to sacrifice TV time. You need to sacrifice family time. You need to sacrifice happy hours. Definitely. For some classes, you will require more time, obviously, but for some others, well, it depends. On average, I will say 8 hours during the week, probably another 8 hours minimum during the weekend.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people find a way to make this work.
It depends.
I think it also depends on your background, right? Because somebody who's been an inventory planner for 3 years, the inventory class is not going to be that hard. Mm-hmm. If they know nothing about technology, then the IT class might be quite challenging and a lot of work. So it sort of varies depending on your skill set.
What online platform do you use?
We use so there are two. One is called a learning management system, or an LMS, and we use Canvas for that. And you can talk about your experience with it if you want. But basically, this is the environment where all the grades are posted, all the assignments are submitted, the chat, the sort of weekly chat occurs there. The syllabus is there, everything about the books you need, etc. So that's one part of it. And then the delivery platform for the live online classes is something called Adobe Connect. And basically it's something, an application that attempts to mimic the actual interaction in a real classroom.
Are there team projects?
Every single class, definitely. I mean, you won't stop working in teams, because at the end, I think that's the main reason of this program, to establish a well-organized, proper collaboration in the supply chain in order to make the business function properly.
Right, and I think also in real life, right, when you're doing your job, I mean, unless you're staring into a microscope all day, you need to work with teams of people to get things accomplished. And sometimes that can be challenging, right? I mean, in work, sometimes you have somebody on your team who is challenging for whatever reason, and it's good experience to know how to negotiate that and how to
Yes.
get things accomplished and how to kind of meet in the middle sometimes.
But yeah.
What kind of jobs can you get with this degree?
We can both answer.
Yeah,
You can do it from your experience.
plenty.
Yeah.
Well, I have been looking in jobs regarding logistics, procurement, supply chain, transportation specialist. Like it's all over the field. I mean,
Yeah. One of the things I try to encourage people to do, and in the program, I have these conversations with people all the time. Say, I want to get another job. Like, okay, what do you want to do? Oh, something in supply chain. I'm like, well, it's like on a vacation. I want to take a vacation. Where do you want to go? The United States. We need a little more specificity to be able to do something. And a lot of times that's where the alumni are helpful, and I can kind of talk people through, figuring out what it is they want to do. Earlier this week, we did a webinar with a company called Agilon. They're sort of a supply chain recruitment and placement firm, and they do a really excellent salary survey every year for a wide variety of supply chain roles. So for, a small company, big company, medium company, and then what kind of role you have. They do it for the United States as well as for the Seattle market. And I think if you go on our website, there either is or will be a link to their recording of that. This is helpful, number one, to sort of know what jobs are out there, how much do they pay, and a lot of times from a negotiating perspective, I talk to a lot of the students about, I think I should get more. How do I do that? And I said, well, evidence is good. Just I want more money usually is not really the best negotiating position. But if you do have something that's a survey that talks about here's the average salary for somebody in this role, that can be helpful. So, this is just part of how we try to stay plugged into what's going on in the real world for supply chain professionals.
Yeah, the other thing is, and I can tell you that because of my professional experience, because of my all this process, is the fact that when you apply, probably you don't have enough experience, but you feel comfortable applying to those jobs because you're getting this knowledge for those particular jobs. After what happens, that's another thing, but you feel comfortable applying to several kind of jobs.
Right, great.
How much math is required?
We talked about this a little, and I will let you answer this since you've taken all the classes and I haven't.
Yeah, like I said before, you need to be comfortable with numbers. I think 70-80% of the classes, you need to work with numbers here.
And it just in terms of the sort, because obviously working with numbers can mean a lot of different things. I know in my classes, like I said, there's not a lot of quantitative stuff. In some of the other classes, I don't think there's not like a lot of where you're doing complex calculus or anything. But your point is you need to be comfortable working with numbers, and that's a good point.
And that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Is this a growing field?
Yes, like massively. That was one of the things on the webinar earlier this week, that there are lots and lots of roles in this field where they just can't find anybody to do them. So obviously, if you're looking for a job, that's great. From a salary perspective, it's great too. If there's not enough supply, I think this is a really exciting field in that regard.
A question from Quetzal Martinez. I still need some work to get to the master's level. Is there a guidance counselor that I can talk to about coursework direction? I am very interested in this master's program. Thanks.
So one of the requirements is you have to have a bachelor's degree in order to apply to a master's program. So I don't know if your situation, if you already have one, if that's the sort of coursework you're looking for. I'm not 100% sure. I totally know what it is you need.
Yeah, the other thing is, for what I'm seeing, you can contact me at some point and we can discuss whatever you wanna do or whatever you're planning, and I can help you with this. Yeah.
Great. That's it.
Anything else?
Okay, great. Well, I want to, number one, thank Edwin for coming and sharing his experience with us, and also to thank all of you for attending. If you need any more information, there's contact information on our website. We're delighted to get on the telephone with you and just explore whether this might be a good fit if you're interested. Thank you very much.
Thank you.